As she dropped the money, something strange happened. For a brief moment, she saw the boy transform into a winged older man with burning red eyes. In the village of Ataro, where farming was the main source of income, most families spent their days working in their farms. Every morning, you could see people carrying their hoes and machetes, heading to their farmlands with determination. But there was one young man who stood out for all the wrong reasons: Ikemba. Ikemba, wake up, his mother shouted. The sun is already high in the sky and you're still in bed. Ikemba rolled over, pulling his thin blanket over his head. Leave me alone, Mama. It's too early. Early? It's almost noon. Everyone else has been at their farms since dawn. Let them farm if they want to, Ikemba mumbled. I'm not interested in breaking my back like them. And how do you plan to eat? Will food just fall from the sky into your mouth? Mama, don't worry so much, Ikemba said, finally sitting up. I'm not like those others. I am smart. I'll find an easier way to make money. Being smart doesn't put food on the table, my son. Look at your friend Chibuzo. He started his farm 3 years ago, and now he has enough yams to feed his family and sell at the market. Ikemba laughed. Chibuzo? That fool who wakes up at 4 a.m. to dig in the dirt? No, thank you. Later that day, Ikemba sat under his favorite mango tree, playing chess with some elderly men. One of them, Papa Okeke, tried to give him advice. Young man, Papa Okeke said, moving his piece on the board. What are your plans for the future? I have big plans, Papa, Ikemba replied, pretending to think about his next move. Very big plans. Like what? Well, I'm thinking about business. You know, buying and selling things, making quick money. Another elder, Papanduka, shook his head. There's no such thing as quick money, my son. Everything good takes time and hard work. That's what old people always say, Ikemba muttered under his breath. As the sun set, Ikemba watched the farmers returning from their lands. They looked tired but satisfied, carrying baskets of fresh vegetables and tubers. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since morning because his mother had refused to cook for him. If they can have food, why can't I? He thought to himself. That's when he got the idea to steal from the farms at night. His first theft was from Chibuzo's farm. Under the cover of darkness, Ikemba crept into the farm and dug up several large yams. It was easier than he expected. This is much better than farming, he thought, carrying his stolen goods home. Let them do all the work, and I'll just help myself to the harvest. This went on for several weeks. During the day, Ikemba would sleep or play chess, and at night, he would steal from different farms. But the farmers were starting to notice their missing crops. One afternoon at the village square, several farmers gathered to discuss the problem. Something must be done, Okonkwo said. Last week, I lost 10 big yams. This week, it's my cassava. Chibuzo nodded in agreement. The same thing is happening in my farm. Just yesterday, I noticed someone had been digging in my yam heaps. We need to catch this thief, another farmer named Uzoma added. But how? Okonkwo leaned forward, lowering his voice. I have an idea. My father taught me how to make special traps. They won't kill the thief, but they'll hold him until we catch him. Are you sure it's safe? Chibuzo asked. Yes, the traps will only catch the legs. Painful but not dangerous. The farmers agreed to set traps that very evening. Unknown to them, Ikemba was hiding nearby, listening to everything. Traps? He thought, smirking. They must think I'm stupid. I'll just avoid them. That night, Ikemba went to Okonkwo's farm, feeling especially confident. The moon was hidden behind clouds, making it perfect for stealing. These old men think they can outsmart me, he whispered to himself. He had just pulled out his third yam when, snap, the trap caught his right leg, sending shooting pain through his body. "Ah!" he screamed, forgetting he was supposed to be quiet. "Help! Someone help me!" His screams woke up the nearby farmers. Soon, lanterns were bobbing in the darkness as people rushed to the farm. When they raised their lights and saw who was caught, there was a collective gasp. "Ikemba," Okonkwo said, his eyes wide with surprise. "You're the thief?" "I can explain," Ikemba stammered, but Chibuzo cut him off. "Explain what?" "How you've been stealing the crops we worked hard to grow." Someone brought rope, and they tied Ikemba's hands. "Let everyone see the lazy thief," someone shouted. They paraded him through the village, singing songs of shame. Children followed the procession, pointing and laughing. Women stood in their doorways, shaking their heads in disappointment. "Shame on you, Ikemba," they called out. "Shame on the son who brings disgrace to his mother." Speaking of his mother, she stood in front of their house, tears streaming down her face. After they released him, Ikemba couldn't bear to stay in the village. That night, he packed his few belongings in a small bag. "Mama," he said, finding his mother in the kitchen, "I am leaving for the city." His mother didn't turn to look at him. "Running away from your shame won't make it disappear, my son." "I'm not running away. I'm going to make something of myself. In the city, there are many opportunities. I will come back rich, and everyone will forget about this." His mother finally turned to face him. "The city won't change who you are, Ikemba. Your laziness will follow you wherever you go." "You're wrong, Mama. You see, I prove everyone wrong." But life in the city proved harder than Ikemba expected. His first job was as a security guard at a small shop. The owner, Mr. Johnson, gave him clear instructions. "Just stay awake and watch the shop at night," Mr. Johnson said. "Can you do that?" "Of course, sir," Ikemba replied confidently. "That's easy." But on his third night, Ikemba fell asleep on duty. Thieves broke into the shop and stole many valuable items. The next morning, Mr. Johnson was furious. "You had one job," he shouted. "One simple job. How could you sleep on duty?" "I'm sorry, sir," Ikemba said. "Night work is too hard. Can't I work during the day instead?" "Get out. You're fired." His next job was cleaning offices. The supervisor, Mrs. Adebayo, showed him what to do. "Sweep and mop all the floors," she said. "Clean the windows, empty the trash bins. It's not difficult." But Ikemba found ways to avoid work. He would hide in empty offices to sleep. After 3 days, Mrs. Adebayo caught him sleeping in an executive's office. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded. "Taking a short break," Ikemba said. "A short break? You haven't done any work today. Pack your things and leave." And so it went. Ikemba tried working as a waiter, but he was fired for being rude to customers. He got a job at a car wash but lost it after scratching an expensive car because he was rushing to finish quickly. Years passed, and Ikemba grew older but not wiser. He could barely afford to eat. One day, after being fired from yet another job, he decided to return to his village. Maybe things have changed, he thought. Maybe they've forgotten about the stealing. But when he arrived at Ataro, he couldn't believe his eyes. The village had transformed. Block houses with zinc roofs had replaced the old huts. Confused, he approached an old man sitting by the roadside. It was Papa Okeke, the same elder he used to play chess with. "Papa Okeke," Ikemba said hesitantly. The old man looked up, squinting. "Ah, Ikemba, you finally returned. You look different." "Papa, what happened to our village? All these modern houses?" Papa Okeke smiled proudly. "Our children happened. Many young people went to the city, worked hard, and made something of themselves. Now they are developing our village. Which young people? Oh, many of them. Remember Obinna, the boy who used to help his father on the farm. He now owns the biggest car dealership in the city. And Adora, that small girl who used to sell groundnuts. She owns a big cosmetics company now. Each success story felt like a knife in Ikemba's heart. He remembered Obinya and Adaora as children, running around the village when he left. Then he learned that his mother passed away 2 years ago. That evening at a village gathering, people asked about his own life in the city. Ikemba couldn't bear to tell the truth. I have a very big company, he lied, trying to sound confident despite his worn-out clothes. Very big. Many employees. Really? Chief Eze asked, looking interested. What kind of company? Oh, various things. Import and export. Very busy work. That's why I haven't visited. Perhaps you could build something here, another elder suggested. Create jobs for our youth. Yes, of course, Ikemba said quickly. I'm actually planning to open a branch here soon. Very soon. That night, in the modern house where he was given a room to stay, Ikemba couldn't sleep. The comfortable bed felt like it was filled with thorns. How did these small children succeed where I failed? He kept asking himself. It's not fair. There must be a way to bring them down. Before dawn, he sneaked out of the house and made his way into the forest. Everyone knew about Egiri, the feared spiritualist who lived in the deepest part of the forest, but few dared to visit him. After hours of walking, Ikemba found Egiri's hut. The old spiritualist sat outside as if expecting him. I've been waiting for you, Egiri said in a raspy voice. The jealous always find their way to my door. Can you help me? Ikemba asked desperately. These young people from my village, they are showing off their success, making me look like a failure. And what do you want? I want them to fail. I want them to lose everything they have. I want them to know how it feels to have nothing. Egiri's eyes glowed in the dim forest light. Are you sure about this? Such magic comes with a heavy price. I don't care about the price, Ikemba shouted. I can't bear their success while I have nothing. Very well, Egiri said. Entering his hut, he returned with a small pot containing a dark liquid and a yellow calabash. Drink this potion. Ikemba grabbed the pot and drank without hesitation. When you return to the village, Egiri explained, you will appear as a young beggar boy. Anyone who puts money in this calabash will be cursed with failure. But remember, this calabash must never touch water. What happens if it touches water? Egiri just smiled mysteriously. You don't want to find out. Back in the village, Ikemba had indeed transformed into a small boy. He sat by the marketplace, holding out his calabash to passers-by. Please help a poor beggar, he would say in a tiny voice. The villagers were kind to him. Women would bring him food, and men would sometimes give him old clothes. But Ikemba waited patiently for his real targets, the successful ones who had returned from the city. During the New Yam festival, they arrived in their expensive cars. Obinna was the first to approach him. Poor boy, Obinna said. Where are your parents? Dead, Ikemba replied, trying to look sad. Please help me, sir. Obinna dropped several naira notes into the calabash. Here, get yourself something to eat. And if you want, I can help you find a school to attend. Thank you, sir, Ikemba said, secretly smiling at what was about to happen to Obinna. Next came Adaora, looking elegant in her expensive clothes. She stopped and studied him carefully. A child shouldn't be begging, she said. You should be in school learning. As she dropped the money, something strange happened. For a brief moment, she saw the boy transform into a winged older man with burning red eyes. She blinked and it was gone. "Did you see that?" she asked a woman standing behind her. "See what?" "Nothing. Just thought I saw something strange. My eyes must be playing tricks on me." One by one, all the successful villagers dropped money into Ikemba's calabash. After the festival, they all traveled back to the city, and strange things began happening to them. Obina's car dealership started losing customers. Cars would mysteriously break down right after being sold, leading to demands for refunds. "I don't understand," lamented. "We've been checking these cars thoroughly before selling them. How can they all suddenly have problems?" Adaura's cosmetics business faced similar problems. Her products began causing allergic reactions in customers, something that had never happened before. "This is impossible," she said, looking at yet another returned shipment. "We haven't changed our formula. How can this be happening?" Other businesses owned by villagers also started failing mysteriously. Within months, many were forced to return to the village, their dreams shattered. One day, Adaura's friend Ebere visited from the city. "Adaora," Ebere exclaimed when she saw her friend. "What are you doing back in the village? What happened to your business?" "Everything just went wrong," Adaura said, fighting back tears. "And it's not just me. Everyone from our village who was successful in the city has somehow failed." "Everyone?" Ebere asked, her eyes widening. "That's not normal. This has to be spiritual attack." "Spiritual attack?" Adaura laughed bitterly. "Come on, Ebere. This is real life, not a movie." "Listen to me," Ebere insisted. "I've seen this before. When too many bad things happen at once, especially to people from the same place, it's usually spiritual. You need to come with me to see my pastor." "I don't know," Adaura hesitated. "I don't really believe in all that." "What do you have to lose?" Ebere asked. "Your business has failed. What's the harm in trying?" The next day, they visited Pastor Isaiah's church in the city. As soon as Adaura entered, the pastor looked at her intently. "I see a dark cloud over your village," he said. "There's an evil presence there, an old beggar who is not what he seems." "An old beggar?" Adaura asked, confused. "The only beggar in our village is a small boy who sits by the market." "Tell me about this boy," Pastor Isaiah said. "Well, they said he just appeared one day. Nobody knows where he came from. He sits by the market with a yellow calabash, asking for money." Pastor Isaiah's eyes widened. "A yellow calabash, you say? Did anything strange happen when you gave him money?" Adaura thought for a moment. "Actually, yes. When I dropped money in his calabash, I thought I saw... No, it's too crazy." "Nothing is too crazy," Pastor Isaiah insisted. "Tell me what you saw." "For just a second, I thought I saw the boy change. He had wings and red eyes. But when I blinked, he was just a small boy again." "We must go to your village immediately. This is worse than I thought." "What do you mean?" Ebere asked. "That boy is not a boy at all. He's carrying a curse, and his calabash is collecting more than just money. It's stealing people's destiny." "Your businesses didn't just fail by accident," Pastor Isaiah explained. "Someone is behind it. Someone who couldn't stand to see others succeed." They gathered a team of prayer warriors and headed to Ataro village the next morning. As they entered the village, Pastor Isaiah began praying loudly. "In the name of Jesus," he shouted, raising his hands to the sky. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered above. Thunder rolled across the sky and rain began to fall. By the marketplace, Ikemba panicked when he saw the rain coming. "No, no, no," he cried, trying to cover his calabash. But it was too late. A drop of rain touched the calabash and it burst into flames. "Help me," he screamed, but his voice was no longer that of a boy. The small beggar boy transformed into the older Ikemba. His body writhed in pain as the burning calabash released all the stolen luck and success it had captured. "It's me," he cried out. "I did it. I cursed everyone because I couldn't stand their success. I'm a failure, and I wanted everyone else to fail too." The villagers watched in horror as Ikemba's body seemed to burn with invisible flames until nothing was left but ashes. Gradually, the successful villagers felt a weight lifting from their shoulders. The fog that had clouded their minds cleared, and their determination returned. "I can feel it," Adaora said, hugging a beret. "The heaviness is gone. Thank you, my friend. And thank you, Pastor Isaiah." "The curse is broken," Pastor Isaiah announced. "Your destinies have been restored." In the following weeks, the young people returned to the city, ready to rebuild their lives. Their businesses gradually recovered, and soon they were flourishing again. Adaora's cosmetics company rebounded stronger than ever. Obina's car dealership regained its reputation, and customers returned in even greater numbers. Always seek divine guidance before helping strangers to understand their true motives. By inviting spiritual discernment, you can ensure your money does not become a tool for someone else's harmful agenda. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next story.